We are live and everything is working. We're good to go.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Berrien County Finance Committee meeting. I would ask you, Stephanie Carlson, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Yarborough.
Present via Zoom in the city of Benton Harbor.
Commissioner Hinkleman.
Present Zoom Waterville.
Commissioner Scott.
Present Zoom New Buffalo Township.
Commissioner Freeling.
Present via Zoom, Baroda Township.
Thank you. Thank you all. Annette, would you help us to stay on with the agenda?
Sure, absolutely. Dan is going to go first with a brownfield plan and a resolution that he's going to do a little PowerPoint presentation, which I believe I sent to you guys as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Dan,
you.
go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let me pull my screen share up here and we'll get the presentation going.
Okay.
1 second here. Okay. All right. We have before you today resolution F2105 219, and this is a resolution to approve a brownfield plan submitted to the county on behalf of Whirlpool Corporation for the redevelopment of the Whirlpool St. Joe Technical Center, which is in the Edgewater district of the city of St. Joe. Last week, our Brownfield Authority met to review this plan, and after reviewing it, the Brownfield Authority passed a resolution finding the plan constituted a public purpose, that the activities contained within the plan were necessary and reasonable for the redevelopment of the site, that the costs associated with those were also necessary and reasonable. And finally, the authority recommended that the Board of Commissioners schedule a public hearing to review this plan, after which they recommended the Board of Commissioners pass a resolution formally adopting the plan with, of course, the concurrence of the city of St. Joe, the local jurisdiction where the project is located. Briefly, I am going to go through this presentation with you today, describing the project, describing the site and the eligible activities that will be occurring on site, and then going through what we call these Section 13 requirements. This should be very familiar to you because it's the same basic presentation that we went through 2 weeks ago with the Harper Woods Brownfield project. So this project entails the redevelopment of a parcel of property located in the city of St. Joe that contains the Whirlpool Global Laundry and Dishwashing Technical Center. It involves the demolition of an existing 4-story building, which is about 120 square feet, the renovation of about 20,000 square feet of existing research facility on the north end of the property, and the construction of a new 2-story, 153,000 square foot building attached to the north wing of the facility. The project is estimated to cost about $60 million. It'll have a substantial increase in the taxable value of the property, but most importantly, it'll ensure the retention of the current employment base at the site, which is 400 employees who have average individual annual compensation of about $140,000. So we are talking about a considerable portion of the workforce in the Twin Cities, as well as a considerable portion of the annual income. Whirlpool is asking for tax increment financing from the local taxing units to offset some of these eligible costs. Additionally, we are seeking the capture of school taxes, both school operating taxes and state educational millages. This requires us to petition the Michigan Strategic Fund. They're the party that actually authorizes the capture of those school taxes. And we have already made that request to the MSF, and we'll be meeting with them in the next few weeks. The eligible activities include additional environmental assessments, investigations, and so forth. Response activities, which include certain soil removals, capping, and barrier and mitigation of contamination. Infrastructure improvements to include utility, principally sewer improvements on site, that will be held in the public right of way, as well as a substantial amount of demolition, site preparation, and stormwater management. The site is subject to flooding right now. All in all, the total cost of the eligible activities is estimated to be a little bit more than $7.4 million. The property is located, I'll show you the map of it, but it's located on Upton Drive, Mominy, and Renaissance Drive, and it's about 14.2 acres. Here's a map of the site. This would be M63 North. Here's the St. Joe River. Here would be Upton Drive, Whitlawn Drive, the train tracks, Lafarge Cement right here. So you can see, I think everyone's probably familiar with the site right there. Here's an enhanced view of the site. It's the existing facility. As I said, it's going to involve the demolition of the southern portion, which is about 120,000 square feet, the renovation of a portion of this part of the existing building, and the construction of a brand new 153,000 square foot facility on the north end. This is, again, this shows the site plan of where the new facility would be. This is a rendering of that site, kind of turned 90 degrees clockwise. So north would be on this side, south would be on this side. As you see, this is where the old building to be demolished is currently. It'll be turned into a parking lot. And this is the construction of the new north wing, the 153,000, and it joins in this little courtyard area here. Here are some exterior site renderings of what it'll look like upon construction. It's obviously a very nice facility. This would be that courtyard junction where the new portion joins with the old portion. Some interior renderings of what the workspaces will look like. And, you know, like everything Whirlpool does, this is world-class, state-of-the-art, very, very nice facility that's going to be constructed here. The site historically was occupied by Auto Specialties Company and the Upton Machine Company, which of course became Whirlpool in 1950. There were structures, the structures that were associated with Auto Specialties and Upton Machine were demolished beginning in 1986 and carrying through to 1997. It appears from the aerial maps that we see that both of those occupants were on site prior to 1921. That's the earliest that we have any records of structures on the site. The current structures were constructed between 97 and 2005 and have been occupied by Whirlpool since then. OSCO, in their site, OSCO's building contained a foundry, a machine shop, and some annealing ovens. Upton's building was used, or Whirlpool's building, I should say, was basically was used for manufacturing of washing machines and air rifles in the mid part of the 20th century. There was a phase 2 environmental assessment that was conducted on site in December 2020, and it did confirm the presence of certain contaminations that exceed criteria established by the state, because of which it's been deemed a quote unquote facility under Part 201. You might remember that something has to be considered a facility in order to be eligible for inclusion in a brownfield plan. Because of the hazardous substances exceeding certain state criteria, this is a facility. Basically what they found were petroleum constituents, arsenic, iron, manganese, the kind of things that we would see from a manufacturing plant in the early to mid part of the 20th century. So because of that, it is considered a facility, eligible property, and eligible for inclusion in the brownfield plan. I would note that we don't have any way of delineating which of the prior occupants is directly responsible for the release of the contaminants. But the presumption is that the release of that contaminant, those contaminants must have occurred sometime in the early to mid 20th century, probably somewhere during the Depression or the World War II era. This is the cost of the activities the world will be undertaking on the site. We have these what we call due care activities. These would be measures undertaken to ensure that contamination isn't subject to exposure. Individuals on site aren't subject to exposure of contamination, soil removals, barriers, cappings, that kind of stuff. There's about $600,000 of sewer work that's going to have to be done, public infrastructure sewer work that's going to have to be done. Site preparation is expensive, about $1 million of soil compaction and balancing and so forth. The demolition is very expensive, about $3 million. And a lot of that is going to be because of lead and other constituents that are in the existing site. There's a stormwater management system that's going to have to be put in place to abate the flooding issues that they're having there. And then the Brownfield Authority will be charging administrative costs to administer this plan over a 25-year period. And we've thrown in contingencies as well. So the total comes out to about $7.4 million in eligible activities. It's difficult to read this, but this is a statement of the tax increment financing impact on the taxing units. I apologize that it's so small, but to summarize, I will tell you that it'll generate about, the project will generate about $63,000 in new county taxes annually. That will be captured and remitted to the developer of Whirlpool to offset costs. In the case of the city, it'll be about $184,000 of city taxes annually that will be captured and remitted to Whirlpool to offset their costs. The schools are an interesting story. The local school operating fund will receive about $190,000 in new tax revenue annually. The state has to actually reimburse that to the schools. So although we're capturing $190,000 annually in new school taxes, the state will pay those taxes directly to the local school district. So City of St. Joe is going to see about $190,000 a year. There's St. Joe Public Schools see about $190,000 a year, or about $4.5 million over the life of the project. In total, we estimate the project is going to last about 25 years. Here are the Section 13 requirements that we go through. Simply stated, Whirlpool Corporation is advancing all the costs of this project. There will be no public funds invested in it. There's going to be no bonded or noted indebtedness on behalf of local governments. There's a slight typo here, I apologize. We anticipate that the capture of the brownfield plan will begin in January 2022, not 2023. And it's, as I said, estimated to last about 25 years. I've already shown you the impact of the taxing jurisdictions. We just discussed that. You've seen the legal description, the location of the site. I've shown you both those maps. We've talked about the basis of eligibility because it has certain contaminants in excess of Part 201 criteria. Additionally, I'll tell you that the personal property that will be included in this development is likely to be categorized as industrial property. Even though it's a research facility, it'll be categorized as industrial property and therefore not subject to taxation. So we don't anticipate capturing personal property taxes. We always have to talk about whether or not we have to relocate potentially displaced individuals. While it's an industrial site, no one's residing on site, so there's going to be no displacement of individuals. Additionally, we have declined, you may recall that we're allowed to capture in excess of the eligible costs to fund something called a revolving site remediation fund. And we have declined to do that with this project, as we almost always do with these projects. Once the eligible costs are paid off, the plan is terminated and then it rolls back onto the general tax rolls. Some final information for you. On Monday, I met with the St. Joe Brownfield Authority to review this. They are in support of the plan and recommended approval of this plan, both by the county and the city. Next Monday, I'll be meeting with the St. Joe City Commission to go through the full presentation with them as well, at which point we'll ask that they adopt a resolution supporting the plan and concurring with the county's action and adoption. There is an additional tax abatement that Whirlpool is seeking on this property that will kind of be layered on top of the tax increment financing district. It makes it a little more complicated, but it'll reduce some of the available tax increment revenue right away for about a 12-year period. Finally, I will tell you, as I said, we have to petition the state of Michigan through their strategic fund to allow for the school tax capture. We have already submitted our draft documents to the MSF for review, and we anticipate being at the MSF's June board meeting. I think it's June 22nd. We were hoping to be at the May 25th board meeting, but it looks like we're going to be pushed out to June 22nd, seeking approval for the school tax capture. Assuming that this plan is approved by the Board of Commissioners and assuming that the MSF approves the school tax capture, we anticipate construction will begin almost immediately and should be completed by the spring of 2023. So I know that's a lot of information that we go through very briefly, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has about this.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Scott. Dan, this property with the original building that is there, and then they're going to tear a portion of it down.
Right.
Was that original building ever ran through a brownfield?
No. No,
So this
will be
is the very first time.
This is the first time. The property at one point was included in what's called the Edgewater Brownfield District. That was put in place sometime in the mid-90s, as I recall. But there was never any actual brownfield or remediative activities taking place on this site. It just happened to be part of a district, but there was never any capture or any remediation activities that were done prior to this.
All right, I just didn't want, for lack of a better term that I can come up with right now, double dipping. You know, if they had done it before and then they're doing it again.
Oh, great.
Okay.
No, that wouldn't be the case.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good work, Dan.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Yarborough, I think you're muted right now.
thank you. I had written down questions and you answered them because at school, when you said something about a school capture, but then later on you explained that taxes would be paid still to the school system. But you've applied for that to happen.
Yeah.
And you know that it will happen because those are the steps. Is
Yeah,
that?
we're confident that the state will allow school tax capture in this project. And the technical reason why we have to ask the state for that is because by law, the state treasury has to pay those taxes directly to the school district.
Okay,
The county doesn't get reimbursed, the city doesn't get reimbursed. We're deferring our tax collections on this. The
okay,
schools basically get made whole, and they realize an immediate gain from these type of projects. Not to get off subject, but I'll tell you the city of Niles, for example, when we did the in-deck power plant brownfield project down there with Niles, the Niles School District is seeing an immediate gain in revenue as a result of that, pretty substantial.
okay.
Yeah.
And does the county receive any dollars for doing any money for doing this, a percentage or administration?
We are charging the Brownfield Authority is charging an administrative fee for this project. It's $100,000 over the life of the project, which works out to about $5,000 a year. And we set that based on our anticipated number of hours that we'll spend administering the project.
Okay,
And my best estimate is it's going to cost us about $5,000 a year to do this.
okay. And then where would the employees be? This is when you come across the track.
Yeah.
Like, say I come from, I'm not good at north and south. I come from the hotel, and
Yeah.
up that road and I turn right and there it is, the
That's
dark brick building. So the first part of it, they're gonna just demolish.
That's right.
And so where will the employees be if there are 400 people?
Well,
working there?
I'm sure what they're going to have to do is shift employment back and forth between existing Twin Cities facilities while this project is going on. I don't know technically how they're going to do it, but part of the idea is they can't interrupt their research and design the whole time, so they'll have to move the employees temporarily elsewhere. I'm sure that's how it'll work.
Okay. And the one thing I want to tell you all is that my father worked at 1900 at the place. He said, we make washing machines. And he was a World War II veteran, so it had to be in the 40s, like 45, 46,
Right.
something like that. So when I saw it, so that's 1900. So, and I understand that they built that building. They knew nothing about contamination or any of the things. They just knew businesses knew they needed to be on the water. And that's where they were dumping, all these factories and things, I think, now we're
Yes.
able to make it right.
I would add that it's generally our policy that we don't do brownfield plans for parties that may be responsible for the contamination on site. But we
Okay,
make exceptions for that when we're dealing with a company that has, generational occupation of a site and where
Yeah.
prior managers were adhering to standard environmental practices of the time that now in our time are considered to be inappropriate practices. So the idea here is it was generations ago that managers may have been responsible for this contamination, and the current managers of the corporation want to clean it up, redevelop it, and put new value on the site. So it makes sense in that regard to provide assistance. The last thing I'll add, I know you have a busy schedule, but I do want to mention this so there's no confusion. Last week, Whirlpool made two large announcements back to back. Both this plan and the construction of a $22 million apartment complex in the city of Benton Harbor on the old Volkswagen site right next to the shipping canal. These are distinct projects, but they're part of a larger process of investment that they're making in the community right now. We have been assisting on the apartment project, but the county is not being asked to take any kind of financing responsibility for that. That's being worked out directly through Whirlpool in the state of Michigan with the support and concurrence from the city of Benton Harbor. So that project is not a direct county project, but I want to just mention that they're part of this larger investment commitment that Whirlpool is making right now.
okay, that's wonderful. Now, what do we need to do? What are you asking us? Will you make this presentation to the full board, or am I just to say?
I will. We already published notices of a public hearing before the Board of Commissioners next week at 10:30, and we sent those notices to the affected taxing jurisdictions. At 10:30, I will be with the board to go through the same presentation with the full board, which we're required to do by law. after which we would ask that you approve and adopt resolution F2105219, which is the resolution approving the brownfield plan.
Okay, I'll just mention it and that there will be a public hearing and a presentation next Thursday. That's what I'll say.
Yep.
Thank you. Do you all have any other questions? Brian, do you have anything you want to say to this?
Just that as the relative new guy in town, I can tell you that the level of investment that's being proposed here is very much eyebrow raising. This is extremely positive news. It's one that the commitment to retaining jobs locally is something that just should not be taken lightly. And I think that as far as the county's involvement, Dan and his team have done a really good job of getting this ready. I know that this is something that they've been working on for months and months, and to see it crossing the finish line, I think it is positive. So from my perspective, this is a great investment. The job retention is tremendous, and the new construction should bring a lot of value to the community. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yep.
Dan. Thank you so much for all that you all have done and are doing. This, I'm just so pleased that this is my town. Thank you. So the next item in that,
Yep, so Jake just slipped into the room here and he's gonna do bid openings first. And then we have a bunch of requests for waivers that he's gonna go over. And then we did ask for people from the departments that are affected by these things to kind of be here or be on, so that if there's any questions, they'll be here. So Jake is gonna start with the bid openings.
All right, the first bid,
good
good
morning.
morning. The first bid is 2021-38, the county master plan for economic development. We sent it to 11 bidders and 1 responded. That is McKenna Associates out of Northville, Michigan.
We only got one response.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeling, would you please, the board? Could you hear me, Commissioner Freeling? I'm
No,
asking.
but I'm thinking you're asking me to report out on these bids. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Excuse me for the interruption. Is there sound?
He's really loud, so I have to turn that down.
Thank you. A lot of paper.
All right, their bid is $59,500.
And tell me the name of the company again.
McKenna,
Okay. And the city?
it was Northville, Michigan.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, to accept the bid?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Scott, make a motion that we accept this bid and send it back to the department for their purview and review to find out if it meets specifications, and if it meets specifications, to go with the lowest bidder on the project, and also to authorize the county administrator the opportunity to make up to a $5,000 adjustment in the contract.
May I have a support, please?
Or
It's been moved and properly supported. Any questions or discussion? Stephanie, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Yarborough,
Commissioner Yarborough?
Who?
Maybe you.
Oh, yes. All right, great.
Commissioner Hinkleton, Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeling.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Jake?
All right, next is bid 2021-46, the parent advocacy specialist from the Tri-Court.
You're on.
This is from Faith Shreve of Coloma, Michigan. And her bid is for $45,000.
And that's all on that one.
This is the only one for this bid as well.
So that one would be
How many went out?
They actually didn't send it to anybody, we just put it on the website.
Okay.
So this would be the standard motion language to move the bid results back to the department for review, and if they meet specifications, they can move forward with the lowest bidder.
Who makes that motion?
Commissioner Scott will make that motion to what Annette just said.
May I have a support, please?
I'll support.
Thank you so much. It's been moved and properly supported. Are there any questions? Who is this through? It says courts. Is it through the health department or what? Who's it through? Or Jean Lawrence, are you with the court?
Yes, I am. It's a position to have a social worker who assists our attorneys who represent parents in our child protective proceedings here in juvenile court. So that's what it's about.
Thank you, because that's what I wondered. Thank you. Any other questions? Stephanie, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Yarborough,
Yes.
Commissioner Hinkleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeling.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries. Jake Lideker.
Next, actually, is bid 2021-47 for the road, weed, brush, guide rail spraying. We sent it to 10 people and nobody responded. So there's nothing for that.
All right. What will
And
happen?
then
Just a moment. Kevin Stack. What will happen when you have no response?
I will have to go back to maintenance and kind of discuss with the supervisor of exactly how they want to handle it, if they want to attempt to respec it and kind of rescope it to be more acceptable, or if we're going to try and look at other means.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, Kevin, has this happened before and we've had to take care of it, or is this just an oddity this year?
I don't think it has happened before. And maybe people's schedules are filling up. Things like this, if it does happen, some circumstances we can do it ourselves. This one, I'm not quite sure how maintenance is handled in the past, just with the chemical and different licensing needed to handle chemicals. I'll have to leave that up to maintenance of exactly what they want to do with that.
All right, thanks. But that's why I was wondering what happened, you know? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, on the next one, that is just materials, correct? The next one is not the ice control sand?
Yeah, so that's just a material.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So the next is bid 2021-49 ice control sand. We sent it to 5 people and 3 responded. The first is Brusky Construction out of Niles. looks like they have it priced out the total for garage location. So for the Benton Harbor garage, it is $26,960. For the Bakertown Road Bakertown garage is $23,320. Waterville Lake garage is $3,605. Baroda garage is $27,640. And Three Oaks garage is $3,455. And I need a calculator to total that. So a total of $84,980.
May I ask Kevin Stack, why are you not ice melting?
I didn't quite hear you there, Commissioner. What was that?
Sorry, maybe our room had a lot of background noise with the traffic. Can you repeat that, please?
Why are you buying ice melting sand in May?
So what we do is right now our stockpiles are, depleted after this past winter. So we're getting our stock of sand in now for winter 2021, 2022.
Okay, I thought maybe you knew something.
No.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, to accept the bid? Oh, no, you have more?
Hold on, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
keep going.
So next is from Michiana Aggregate out of Niles. And their bid for Benton Harbor is $27,920. Bakertown is $24,360. Waterville is $3,365. Baroda is $26,880. And Three Oaks is $3,490. 1 second.
86,015.
And that's $86,015.
It takes a village.
And the last bid for this is from Hollerbach Excavating out of Stevensville. And their bid is for Benton Harbor, $26,800. For Bakertown, it's $25,200. For Waterville, it's $3,700. For Baroda, it's $26,400. And for Three Oaks, it's $3,850 for a total of
85,950.
Thank you, Alexa.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion, if Annette would be so kind.
Make a motion to move the bids back to the department with the approval to move forward with the lowest bidder if they are an approved responsible bidder that meets specifications and requirements. Communication from the department must be submitted to the finance committee in the event that they want to move forward with a bidder that was not the lowest bidder to provide justification and obtain additional approval.
Don't move, Madam Chair. Thank you, Annette.
May I have support?
A second.
Thank you. Then move to support. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Commissioner Yarborough? Commissioner Hinkleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Freeling?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Jake?
So that is it for bids, and now we are on to the request for waiver of competitive quotes or bidding. The first one we'll do is Andy Egan, Building HVAC Controls. This is from maintenance, Todd Johnson, who is here. He's requesting a waiver amount of $76,328.
Would you like to say anything about this, what this is?
How's everybody doing? Anyhow, we've been doing this for about 6 years. It was on, I guess, a little bit, not as formal, informed, not a form at all. But I came to commissioners probably 3 or 4 times during, over the past 6 years to just update you on using the sole source for our control system. With the new forms and that was put in place for procedures for finance, basically going through the motions with that, which is a good idea because now we'll have actually something documented on hand to pull up, which will be good for everybody. But basically it was for our control system, being of their importance, and from guidance from some other institutions that it needs to be a single source. There needs to be only one cook in that kitchen because there's so many different things that you can do to get to one point. And we tried 2 different companies prior that didn't work quite that well. And we're spending time and money now trying to correct what happened from those first 2. So now we've been working on this for quite a while, and we're in a good place with, and they have to also work with IS very closely because they have to get into our network at some point, so make adjustments and that, and they work very well with them. So it's basically trying to follow procedure. You know me.
Thank you very much. Other members, do you have any questions about this?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
I'm totally against this. And the reason I'm totally against it is it, I believe, usurps the process of open and competitive bids. Now, I understand exactly what Todd is talking about controls. These are not Andy Egan designed controls. These are controls that are made by another company that Andy Egan is purchasing and installing in the equipment. My biggest problem that I'm having right now is reading the justification on this. I would like to know where we've spent $400,000 correcting this. I don't remember any kind of time coming back to this finance committee saying that this contractor didn't do a good job that we hired, and now it's going to cost us another $400,000 to fix this. So I'm questioning that aspect of it also. And I think that when we designed this waiver, this was exactly not what we were trying to do. We set parameters on the amounts of money. And it said that we were going to go for competitive bidding for purchases $20,000 or higher. So I think that we need to stick to our own language on the waiver. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Any other?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Todd, is that
Yeah.
her? Yes.
As far as repairs, now this is over the last 6 years, which we have the POs and that we've wrote for these over the past 6 years to get back to where we needed to be. And he's right. Yeah, anybody can buy these pieces of equipment. That's we're the part that gets kind of mushy in there is the programming. They can buy the parts, the pieces, the actuators, everything. It's when it comes to the programming that it can become different. There's 12 different ways they can get to the point they need to get to, but if we're not on the same page throughout the whole county, we start dropping things. The system isn't doing what we need to do. But basically, I mean, and most of them are recommendations from others that it's just hard to do. But I can get that stuff for you as far as what costs we've done to correct what has happened before. There's other things that you wouldn't see so much. The first control company, when we had animal control, they did that. We spent a lot of money on equipment out there. Our monthly energy bill was about $1,300, which seemed high for such an elaborate piece of equipment. We brought our control people in. They ran through it, switched like 2 wires, switched 2 wires around because it was installed wrong, and they run about $360, $390 a month. So there's also that additional cost that wouldn't be in a PO or anything, to that reason. So yeah, that's why.
If you all have any other questions of Todd Johnson?
No,
On
Madam
the,
Chair.
on the waivers, what, do we make a motion or do we just agree?
So to the Finance Committee, if this is something that you would prefer to see go out to bid, if you feel that going out and seeking quotes is an acceptable way to do business, or the third option is to grant the waiver as written, those are the 3 options that I can see that are immediately before the Finance Committee.
Let's Todd, you have something more.
I'm sorry, what was that meeting one more time?
Todd, did he have something more to say?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, in the long run, I mean, we all have a fiscal responsibility for the way we spend funds, which we, going back, every time a contractor comes in, it takes personnel, it takes man hours. We have to be with them, security checks. But there's a lot of other different factors in there to just having somebody new coming in all the time.
And this request for waiver, you have totally looked at it and the previous activities, and this is your solution.
Yes, well, we've been doing this for quite a while. This is just a different.
Okay. Committee, commissioners, do you have any other questions? Yes, John?
I'm not sure that I can add this analogy to it, but I know what Todd speaks of for the technology that we face even in agriculture, and this is kind of a bad analogy, but we bring technology together in GPS form, and we also bring it together for, right now we're in the middle of a planting season. And while all the components are for sale out there, to try to bring that unit together so that it actually functions, if we put a Kinsey planter behind a John Deere tractor, if we on top of that put a Case IH GPS system, to try to get all those things to work together in unison is difficult. And I'm not sure, I really respect what Ezra's comments, and but I also understand exactly where Todd's coming from. The fact of the matter is that trying to make that technology work and to get it, I understand the need for that. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Scott, if I could just for 1 minute.
Yes.
I don't want to usurp our bidding process by going with a waiver over and above what we have already said. To me, if we send this out to bid, okay, which is what we should do, that's what our policy says. Once we do that, if Company A, Company B, Company C, and then Andy Egan submit bids on this, okay? Todd already has documentation to show that Company A, Company B, and Company C, who have worked for the county before as a low bidder, and he can document the fact that they have not performed well for the county, then it would be a reason to go with company D, which is Andy Egan. But to not do that process of sending it out to bid and just saying that we're going to go with a single source because we want Andy Egan to do the work, I think is wrong. And I think the taxpayers, our fiduciary responsibility is to the taxpayers of the county and to spend their money in the most effective way possible. The point is that by sending it out to bid, I think that's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to use this waiver in instances like this. That's all I really have to say. And I am not in support of this. I want to see open and fair bidding for all companies. Thank you.
To the Finance Committee, one complication that will need to be considered is we now have Andy Egan's quoted price on record, and that number has been publicly disclosed. For us to go out and seek quotes or to go through the formal bidding process, that will complicate the issue. I'm not saying that we should not go seek quotes. I'm just saying that I anticipate that if we do, Andy Egan may express some heartburn about the process.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Freeling.
I just had a couple of questions. So, Todd, you were asking for this to kind of clean up what we've been doing to make certain that it kind of follows our process and our policy. Is that correct?
Right. I mean, it was new, the waiver form that we had, that procedure was put in front of us, so we're just trying to follow it.
I do appreciate that. Is this for the current fiscal year 2021 that you're asking for this? And have we done a blanket already with Andy Egan?
There's no blanket, but it is for 2021. It's to finish off the jail part of it. And it's kind of hard to explain how we're not, we don't want to get away from the bid process. I don't even know if I know how to bid this out, which would take input from what Egan's done so far, and then of course you're getting into stuff that is just gibberish to me, that as far as the technical part. So I'm not even sure how I would even do that. But I mean, I think this is the right way to go. This is not something we want to waive everything that we're doing. But when it came to these controls, we were pretty specific about it.
So,
Todd, to put this thing up to bid, do you need an outside engineering consultant to assist you with the development of the bid spec?
I don't know if we need that, because it's still going to take the input from where we are right now, because I mean, it was such a massive project to do. There was no way we could do it. We had to phase this thing across the board because it was just overwhelming. So I don't know, we're still going to have that point where we're going to have to ask them to give us, what their thinking was, what they're making the actuators work off of, and that kind of thing.
Because previously you had done this by just going and seeing the finance committee, and the decision was made in the finance committee as part of the record in minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
But it wasn't done.
But we never had that form to pull up and say, here
Yep.
it is.
Yeah.
so I do have one other question, Madam Chair, if I may ask.
Yes.
So Todd, with your arrangement that you've had, and I know in the past when I served on Finance Committee, I remember when this first came up and you were talking about that very thing, you weren't quite sure how to even write an RFP to go out for bid. So my question is, how long is the contract that you currently have with Andy Egan? Is it a year to year, or how does that work?
No, as far as the control, there is no contract. I mean, it's still, these are things they come in through the PM process and list out that need to be fixed. We roadmapped this whole, the controls out years ago. Because we did have to work out a phasing program to get this all in. So, but there's no contract. There's no guarantee to them, and they know that this is not guaranteed to them, unless we do the waiver thing. And it's still not guaranteed. It's still my option to give it to them, but there's no contract. I mean, if there was a contract, it would have came before you, certainly for you to sign.
I understand what you're saying.
Continue.
I was just wondering if this was something that moving forward, if we could kind of get over this hurdle and then moving forward, come up with a solution that will make it a lot more transparent for the process, for the public to understand that we're doing our best due diligence for fiscal responsibility. Because I appreciate and respect Commissioner Scott and Commissioner Hinkleman's comments as well. Of just making certain that we're following the process and following the procedures. But I appreciate what you're saying too, Todd, because it comes down to time. And the time that it would take to write this out just to go out for bid is concerning to me.
Well,
Chair,
sorry.
Madam Chair, I'm all right with what Todd's asking at this point in time. I'm all right with the waiver. I understand exactly where Commissioner Scott's coming from, but I'm all right with the waiver in this thing. I also understand what Administrator just said is saying. This is going to make it very difficult to bid at this point in time, and so I'm all right with the waiver.
And what I would like to say is I'm all right with the waiver because it's not like you just woke up and said, we're going to do this. It's from the past problems that you've had, you said, with the wiring or with, whatever was being done. And that Andy Egan seems to know the system and how to make it work. I say that name, I only mean his, the company or the staff. And I know it's important that we be able to have it done right. And if you already you already have to be able to show that so-and-so did it and it did not work, or they didn't know what they were doing, or we had to redo it. So I believe that those kinds of, papers and files are there. And so I'm fine with going with the waiver for the $76,000 job to Andy Egan. And we've had the other two commissioners. And what you're saying also, Commissioner Scott, and I ask that if you would like, it can be noted that you did not agree with this.
Madam Chair, that's exactly what I was going to ask. I would ask that it be put into the minutes that I don't agree with this, that I think it should go out to formal bids and leave it at that. Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Chair, and my statement is I'm okay moving forward with this.
Thank you. And that's what I'm fine with it. And John has said so. So please know, Director Johnson, that go ahead with this waiver. We approve it.
Okay, good. So are we good to move forward then on the next one?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. Jake?
Thank you, everybody. On to the jail.
The next competitive waiver is for iBid County Electric. This is coming from Parks. It's asking for a waiver amount of $2,000 for single source, and Jill is here for any questions.
Next time, Jill will have you go.
Yeah.
Yes. So Jill, you're in the room?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. You want to just say, we read it, but in a minute, what it is you're asking for?
Just there are some regular repairs for the parking lot lighting and some electrical outlets at our pavilion. So minimal work. The estimated price did come in over the $1,000 mark. We've worked with IBID for many years. They are familiar with our system and our lighting, especially the parking lot lights that require a lift to come in and fix those. So we would like to continue working with them to make these just kind of general, small annual type repairs.
Is this at Silver Beach?
Yes, at Silver Beach County Park, yes.
And I wanted you to tell us, because there are people listening and we've had an opportunity to see the waiver and to read it. But I just want, the department to state what it is you're asking for. I'd like to ask commissioners, do you have any questions regarding Ibbot County continuing to be not Ibbot County, where'd I get county from? Ibbot Electric, to continue working on the lights at Silver Beach?
Madam Chair, I have a question for Jill.
Yes.
Jill, is this going to take care of the outside receptacle with the cover gone close to the water spigot? And since that plug right now is not a GFI, is it connected to a GFI breaker? Are we bringing that stuff like that up to code? Is that what this is part of?
While Ibid is on site, part of it is inspecting some of those areas. And I will know more after the inspection.
So Ibid has looked at this, correct? So their bidding is for a waiver of $2,000. But if some of these things that they find, could this go higher or not?
Yes.
Thank you.
And what you were saying is you have $1,000 limit. So if it went up less than $1,000 more, you'd be able to go ahead and approve it? Or do you have to come back again for us to waive?
I would have to consult the waiver to see that we fit in the parameters of the waiver after we get the inspection results.
Okay. All right, so do you approve of this waiver? Yes? Commissioner Scott?
Yeah, I approve of it. I just wanted to make sure that some of these things that had been reported to me are going to be taken care of down there. People have told me things and I just said, well, wait, our new parks director will be handling all that. And that's why I brought that up about that one outside electrical plug that needs a cover, and it's not a GFI plug, so it should be on a GFI breaker for safety. And I just brought that up. So yeah, and if it goes over that, then she's just definitely going to have to come back and let us know. But I'm okay with it. I really am.
And I am too. So I approve, and you all do. We all approve of this waiver. Thank you, Jill.
I think you have one more, don't you, Jill?
All right, next is another one from Parks for Pentura LLC, replacement parts for existing playground equipment at Madeline Bertrand, requesting a waiver amount of $2,442.
Jill?
So Pentura is the company that installed the playground back in 1996, and they do provide us with an annual inspection and have provided us with replacement parts as needed throughout the years, both at Madeline Bertrand and Silver Beach. And this year, the latest inspection brought back a list of needed parts and supplies for these aging pieces of equipment. And this was their quote for those replacement parts. Our staff will provide the labor to install and fix the playground.
Good. Any questions?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Scott, I'm sorry, I always have questions. Jill, this playground equipment that was put in 1996, how much are we putting into the maintenance and repairs of that, given that it's going to be what, 25 years old? Am I doing the right math? Maybe. I mean, at some point in time, are we thinking about what it's costing us as far as in maintenance and the life of the equipment? Should we be looking at replacing it? Just a thought.
Yes, we definitely are doing so.
Okay. Any other questions? I agree with the waiver. Commissioners?
Yeah, I agree too, Madam Chair.
I do.
Okay, we agree with the waiver. Please go ahead and have it done, or order the parts.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Alright, the next waiver is for Motorola vendor, for radio chargers, carry holsters, and carry cases. This is from the Sheriff's Department. They're requesting a waiver amount of $1,131.
And Chuck is on here if you have questions for Chuck.
Okay, would you just tell us in a sentence or two what it is you're asking for?
Sure. So as you know, we purchase radios replacements each year. This is just the accessories that go along with it. Once the radios are in, Motorola is the vendor that we use. We are asking for a sole source because that is their product, and the batteries and accessories go with those specific units that have already been purchased.
Okay. Any questions? Commissioner Freeling?
No questions. I think that the justification was well described in the form, and my understanding is it's actually better to go this route than to do it under the blanket PO. So it's a cost savings to the county, and I'm all in favor of it. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I remember that. Any other questions or discussion? Then I agree with the waiver. Other commissioners, yes? Thumbs up? Okay, thank you. Jake, do you have more?
Yep, we have one more, and this is for King Media. It's a comprehensive outreach and educational campaign to include media placements that fulfill the grant requirements of the LARA MMOOG funding. This is from the Health Department, and they're requesting a waiver of $25,000.
Yeah, and to the committee, we actually have two of these for Health Department. And Jillian from the Health Department is on to assist with the discussion. And then just one last item, PHS met today at 8, and both of these items were formally recommended by the Personnel and Human Services Committee along with the Board of Health. Okay.
So
Would you
Jillian,
just in a minute tell us what it is we're purchasing, Jillian?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So the first one that was noted is the request to work with King Media. They are a full service marketing firm that we have worked with for the past 2 years in the implementation of a community-wide education and awareness campaign regarding medical and recreational marijuana. The funding that we have received that pays for this campaign is through LARA, the licensing agency over marijuana dispensaries. So we have conducted this campaign for the past 2 years. King Media did win a successful bid back in 2019 when we officially originated this campaign. And they did receive a bid exemption so that we could work with them again last year. So here we are again for a third year asking for this exemption to contract with them. They were the original creators of all of the materials, the ads, and have helped with the media placements for the different elements of this campaign. So we would like to work with them again this year.
Okay, any questions, commissioners? Okay, I approve. And you say there are two, so it's two, each $25,000?
No, ma'am, there's another separate request. Would you like me to talk about that one as well?
No, let's approve this one.
Okay.
I agree. You all agree? So we agree to the waive this one. What's the next one?
Thank you so much. The second one is to work with Spectrum Health Lakeland in regards to getting more information out to our community about COVID-19 vaccinations. As you are all well aware, we have worked with Spectrum Health Lakeland very closely throughout the duration of this pandemic, oftentimes joining forces on our communication efforts to really amplify the message throughout the community. So in this time right now where we're really trying to boost up our vaccination rates and get the word out about where people can get vaccines, how easy it is, all of that information. Lakeland we would like to work with Lakeland to get a direct door mailer as well as a radio campaign underway. Lakeland has agreed to split the cost for that 50-50 with us. And they are willing to pay that upfront, if you will, to the vendors that we'll be working with, and then invoice us, the health department, for our share of the cost. So that is the request today.
Okay, and tell us the amount. I remember seeing that.
Yes, I believe the total amount is about 17,000 and some odd change. And that again includes the direct door mailer and a radio campaign that will be conducted through Midwest Family Broadcast.
Okay, and Berrien County will pay, it's 34,000 something. Berrien County will pay 17,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions?
Madam
And
Chair.
have you all been doing this already? Do you have a mailer and a radio ad that Berrien County and Lakeland are doing together already?
The direct door mailer has hit mailboxes just last week, in fact, so many people might have seen it. And the radio campaign has not yet launched.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? I
Madam-
agree with it. Other commissioners?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
Jillian, I have a question/request. In the EOC COVID meeting yesterday, we brought up about our vaccination rate and where we stand in Berrien County.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is immensely important that somehow we get the word out to the residents of Berrien County so that our numbers could be properly reported, because we are a border county with Indiana, and there are people along the border that have gone to Michigan City, LaPorte, Valparaiso, Chesterton, South Bend, Mishawaka, wherever, and got vaccinated, but they are not in our totals. And I think not only along with that, but you take a lot of the snowbirds that we have, the elderly that would probably be going to Arizona or Texas or the South Florida that have been fully vaccinated, and those numbers do not show up. I think we need to get some way of getting word to the people to let us know so that these can be added. Is there a way to do that in this campaign, or do we wait and try and do it in another? I mean, it's going out on the radio, so that's just my thoughts. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Jillian, any thought about that?
Yeah, just to respond, thank you, Commissioner Scott, and it is a really good point. Being a border county, we kind of always have that extra challenge when folks seek healthcare outside of the state of Michigan. It doesn't always get recorded in our own state totals. So it is an important message to get out, and that is something that the health department will be communicating more on. I don't know if there is room for that in this specific campaign working with Lakeland, but certainly in future messaging, that will be an important component. And there's always opportunities that we have to get the message out in a variety of different ways on that particular topic.
Okay, any other questions? I agree with waiving this. Other members?
Madam Chair, I had a couple questions. Though I'm in favor of this, Jillian, was this an initiative that Spectrum Lakeland took on and then reached out to the health department of partnering with you, and that's why it's kind of out the door already, and we're working together to figure out how to fund it?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, we do a lot of collaboration on communication all the time. In fact, we have a weekly meeting with their communication team. So there had been things discussed, but Lakeland offered to kind of take the lead on initiating quotes and working with a vendor. And so they said, we'll go ahead and work with the vendor since that will be easiest and invoice the health department after the fact.
Perfect. Thank you. And Madam Chair, I'm good with moving forward with this waiver.
Thank you. So Jillian, we say yes to the waiver. both pieces.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you. Shay?
That is it for me.
Thank you so much. Go have breakfast. Are there other, will you help us, Annette, where are we now on the agenda?
I'm only gonna help you if Jake brings us down breakfast, because I'm a little hungry myself.
You're out of luck. Have a good day.
Yes, so the next thing on your agenda are just your standard resolutions. The first one is for the approval of weekly bills. If anybody has any questions about that, I can answer those, or we can just move this forward to the full board today.
Any questions about the bills? Okay, I'm fine with it. And
Perfect. Yep, then the next, so that was F2105029. The next one is for road payables, and that's F2105116. And again, I'm just seeking if you have any questions or if you're ready to move this forward to the full board.
I'm fine with it. Do you have any questions on the bills? Okay, we say yes.
Perfect. And then I need a motion to approve your minutes for April 22nd on 2021.
Do you have a motion, please, to approve the minutes?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Freeling. I make that motion.
Thank you. May I have some?
Commissioner Scott, I will support Commissioner Freeling's wonderful motion.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions, corrections? Stephanie, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Yarborough,
Yes.
Commissioner Hinkleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
But of course, yes.
Commissioner Freeling.
Yes.
The motion carries. Annette, anything else?
No, so I just checked for public comments. I've been asking kind of throughout the meeting to see if I could, get anybody to talk to us, and no one is. So we have 14 people watching right now.
Okay.
And that's it.
Administrator Doucette, do you have anything to send us off with? You want to say to us?
No, ma'am. I think that was a good meeting. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question for our county administrator. Would you give us a very, very short, in-depth update on the jail versus our mainframe? Thank you, sir. I have interest in this.
Yeah, so the roll-up doors, the Rytech style roll-up doors are looking like, the last I checked, we were looking at mid to late May for that equipment to arrive. We'll still have installation. I anticipate we're probably looking at sometime early June for that to be completed. The replacement security doors, that is to be determined as to how soon that equipment will be on site. I think realistically, we're looking at probably late summer, early fall before having that stuff wrapped. So to answer your question, the race between the mainframe and the jail is still very much on.
Thank you. I was just wondering because with the price of building materials going up, and it seems to be that what I've realized in the being a general contractor is a lot of these companies are having back order issues because they can't get people to work in the factories. And that's why I was wondering, especially about the doors, that could all play a big role in what's happening right now. And we don't know what it's going to be later on. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Thank you, though, for the update. It was an excellent update.
So in all seriousness, to the members of the Finance Committee, back in the early fall, Finance agreed to ordering well in advance of our standard practice a number of law enforcement vehicles. I think on Monday, possibly Tuesday this week, we're having a conversation between myself, the undersheriff, and Todd Rainey from Motor Pool. And I compliment you all for having some foresight by making those orders well in advance of when we normally do. I'm still hopeful that we'll take receipt of the vehicles. But with the way that that GM is struggling right now to commit to production, there's a chance that some of those vehicles, or potentially all of those vehicles, could get knocked out of the order queue. So the good news, finance agreed to order well in advance. If we're going to get them, it's because we ordered so much earlier than normal. But that's just one of those that I think that Todd and the sheriff and undersheriff were pretty smart to come real early, and I think you all were pretty wise to agree to placing those orders so much earlier than normal. And ma'am, those are my comments for the day.
Good. Commissioners, any closing comments? I thank you, Stephanie. I thank you, Annette. I think that he left. Thank you, Administrator. We will see you in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for all the good work.